Good morning or good afternoon. We are so happy to see each and every one of you. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Today is January the 9th, 2024. I would like to say happy birthday to some very special people in many of our lives. We have a lot of January birthdays here, so happy birthday to all of you January birthdays. And we are so excited to see each and every one of you. Let us know where you are viewing today's broadcast from. Many of you will be live with us, but if you are seeing the replay, feel free to do that as well. And TIAC and LEAP graduates, please shout out your cohorts. Great to see you. Sister Willa, great to see you. Sister Janisha, great to see our former ISSD Vice President and currently the AIM Vice Chair of the International AIM Convention, one of the vice chairs, Dr. Althea Sims. We're grateful for each and every one of you. I see you, Grisetta. Great to see you, Brother Dan. Great to see each and every one of you. This is such a wonderful day, and we are so excited for all the things that God is doing as He's carried us over from one calendar month to another. So today we are excited to welcome our presenter, but first we want to acknowledge our leadership. We're so grateful for our presiding bishop. We thank God for him, Bishop J. Drew Sheard, as well as our International Supervisor of Women, Dr. Barbara McCool-Lewis. We're grateful for our Sunday school leadership, Dr. Mark Ellis, as well as our International Field Representative, Supervisor Cleolia Penix. We're grateful for each and every one of you, all of the Sunday school family. Would you do me a favor and love and share this broadcast? And let's tag 2 or 3 people who are working on their African American history or their Black history programs for what they're planning to do in the month of February. Um, we it's a wonderful thing each year to reflect and remember the amazing things that God has done in our rich culture. And we're grateful for all that, we're going to learn from today's presenter. So today we're excited to welcome Dr. Doris Sims. She holds a PhD. She received a full fellowship from the Claremont Graduate School and is a graduate of Claremont University Graduate School, where she majored in early education or child development, receiving her PhD. She was also an associate professor at California State University, Los Angeles, and worked at California State University, Northridge, and other colleges and universities for over 40 years. I don't know how the Lord blessed her to work as an embryo. Can you believe it, guys? So she's founded schools in the Los Angeles area. She's been a volunteer juvenile hall counselor. She teaches parenting classes to parents of incarcerated youth. She's been the Sunday school superintendent for Chaplains Eagles, the religious arm of the youth penal system. And then she's also taught teachers how to develop and create lessons that would come alive to their students. Additionally, in addition to all of this, she has served as a consultant to the Institute for Black Parenting, and she's taught parenting classes to foster and adoptive parents. She has written 4 children's books about African American inventors with accompanying teaching guides. And, she's been a single mother. She's adopted a child, and she's authored a book that we know pretty well. It's titled Roots Out of Dry Ground, the Mother Retha Herndon Story. Her passion is to continue to assist in the education of the African American child and strengthen the Black family. She is a member of the West Angeles Church of God in Christ, where currently Pastor Charles Blake II is the pastor, and our previous presiding bishop, our presiding bishop emeritus, Bishop Charles E. Blake Sr., is the pastor. Would you help me welcome the one and only Dr. Doris Sims? She's no stranger to us. She's presented a few times before, and we are so honored to welcome her back. God bless you, Dr. Sims.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation back. I just feel so honored that I have been invited back a few times. So that lets me know something. Maybe you might be enjoying me a little bit. So I
We are absolutely enjoying you, and we are in your hands.
thank you so much. This topic, Black history topic, is very dear to my heart. I know that we don't have a lot of information about our history, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're not as progressive as we should be. So first, I'm going to just pray and ask the Lord to bless our session, and then we're going to move forward. Lord, we thank you for the privilege to be here on today. We thank you for all that are with us, and those that are coming, and those that will be viewing later. We're asking you, oh God, that all the information that they receive there will be according to your will, and bless us so we can know more about who you are and who we are in you. Bless us all together. Look on the leadership of the Sunday school department. Bless each and every leader. Bless our presiding bishop and the leader of the Sunday school department international. In Jesus' name, thank God. Amen. So we're going to look now at our topic, and our topic is Black History Month. We're going to be talking about Black history, and I want you to know that there's a theme. So, our next slide. So, the 2024 Black History theme is African Americans and the arts. So, I want you to know that when we talk about history and the arts, we're going to be talking about a lot of different areas here. And so, some of them, I know that in the church, there is some music that we don't listen to and that we don't promote, but that's okay. We're going to be talking about the history of the African American arts. Next slide. Now, this is a review and a refresher, really. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the individual that developed Negro History Week. It was first initiated by him, and he was the founder of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And he brought forth the whole concept of Black History Week. He said that the people in America needed to know more about the contributions of the African American. In 1926, the first African American themes were established, and there has been a yearly theme from 1926 until today. In 1976, President Lyndon B. Johnson declared February to be Black History Month rather than the week. So now we have a month of the Black History celebration. And again, our theme is African American and the arts. Next. Next. So now, like any other area in America, the African American has made significant contributions to the arts. And that includes literature, music, visual arts, dance, and theater. These contributions have not only enriched the cultural landscape of the United States, but also influenced global artistic movements. And that's something that we need to remember. The African American has been influential in influencing the world and what the world has done with various concepts. So next slide. In 2024, we're going to examine the varied history and the life of the African American in the arts, and we're going to talk about the artisans as well. Next. So now we know that For centuries, Western intellectuals have denied the contributions of the African American, and not then, but now as well. And they have even tried to take away what we have. They have stolen, they have minimized what we have brought to the table. But we are going to now acknowledge what the African American has done in and for the arts. Next. The arts will include 5 areas, and those areas are music, literature, visual arts, dance, and theater. The music will include jazz, blues, gospel, hip hop, and rap. Literature, we're going to be talking about slavery, Reconstruction, the Harlem Renaissance, Civil Rights era, and contemporary literature that will be involved in the area of literature. Visual arts will be talking about what happened during the Harlem Renaissance, abstract expressionism, and contemporary art. In the dance, we're going to be talking about modern dance and the ballet, and the theater, African American theater, and acting. Next. Next. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you go back? Okay. Now, our first area we're going to be talking about is jazz, is music, and under music is jazz. Jazz was created by the African American, and it emerged in the early 20th century. So we know names such as Louis Armstrong, we know Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, and these were jazz pioneers, and they shaped the genres of improvs in, oh my goodness, improvisation. Why can I say this? Okay, and rhythmic characteristics. Sorry, people. So they improvisation and rhythmic characteristics. They shaped that whole genre. And so, next slide. These are pictures of some of our pioneers in the field of jazz: Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, and Duke Ellington. Next. Then we're going to talk about music and blues. And blues was originated in the Deep South. The blues is known for its emotional expression and lyrical themes. So artists such as B.B. King, Muddy Waters, and Robert Johnson are celebrated for their contributions to the blues tradition. Now, I was told that B.B. King was once Church of God in Christ. I was told that. I don't know. I did not verify it. But B.B. King was one of those pioneers of the blues. Next. And those are the pictures of our pioneers. The picture to the left is B.B. King, and then we have Johnson, and we have Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson for the blues. Next. Now we're going to talk about gospel music. We all know about gospel music with its roots in the African American religious traditions, has been influential in shaping various music genres, including soul and R&B. The artists that we think about usually are Mahalia Jackson, and Thomas Dorsey is considered to be one of the greatest composers of music on the gospel scene. So we see now, next, we see the picture here of Mahalia Jackson, Thomas Dorsey, and the Staple Singers. And the Staple Singers we put in there because their music went from gospel even to the world stage. Next. Next, we have hip hop and rap, and I know that a lot of controversy about that, but it's still a part of our music history. And hip hop and rap, a lot of people didn't think it was going to go far, but we're now celebrating 50 years of the rap. 50 years of rap is just amazing to me how it has actually influenced different genres throughout the world. We think of people such as Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC, and Tupac Shakur. These are some of the pioneers of the rap scene. Most of them are gone. Next. So these are pictures. One picture of Tupac in the background. You see Biggie Small, and then you see Run DMC. Okay, next we're going to be talking about literature and how literature has influenced the arts. And the American literature encompasses a rich tradition of writing that reflects the experiences, struggles, and achievements of African Americans throughout history. And we're going to be talking about some of these great writers. From the early slave narratives to the contemporary works of today, African American literature has played a crucial role in shaping American literacy traditions and addressing issues of race, identity, and social justice. Next. So this is the picture. You see a picture of Booker T. Washington and Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. And they had a controversy going between the two. Dr. Du Bois was talking about we should educate the talented 10th. And Booker T. Washington said that we should look at everyone's gifts and talents and begin to encourage them to do whatever they can do to be a part of society. So he was talking about such things as being an electrician or a plumber or whatever. Those were the things, using your hands, being able to work with your hands and do what is for you. W.B. Du Bois was talking about educating the most intellectual minds of the African American. All right, next. Now, in regards to literature, there were many writers during slavery. And one of those writers during slavery was Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass wrote a book that says The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. And another book was written by Harriet Jacobs, who talks about incidents in the life of a slave girl. Now, these provided a first-hand account of the brutality of slavery, and it became important tools in the abolitionist movement. So these books that were written by Frederick Douglass and Harriet Jacobs really encouraged the abolitionists to seek for the end of slavery. Next. So here is Frederick Douglass and the book that he wrote. Next. And we have Ida B. Wells, and Ida B. Wells wrote about the injustices of lynching, and she also had her own newspaper. She had to leave the South because they were after her because she was writing about lynching, and she then published her own newspaper and began to really talk about the atrocities of lynching. Next. And here we have Harriet Jacobs, who wrote the book Slave Girl, that gave a depiction of what it meant to be a slave or slave girl in the South. Next. Now, during the regarding literature, during the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s and the 30s, there was a cultural movement that where the African American literature really flourished. And so we know the names such as Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston and Claude McKay. All of these produced works that celebrated the African American culture, and they also challenged racial stereotypes. So, in terms of poetry and writings, these were some of the most pronounced figures in the field of literature. Next. And here we have a picture of, to the left, you'll see these are the Renaissance ladies. Now look at the way they're dressed. This was the Harlem Renaissance. And then we have Josephine Baker and we have Langston Hughes. All of these, you see the how the movement, the Great Migration, the blacks moved from the South to the East, to the West, the North, and they established even more of an affluent nature. They were able to do and work and take care of themselves. And you see the way these ladies are dressed, that they um, are well to do. Next. So during the Harlem Renaissance, now the Harlem Renaissance was a time where it was they celebrated the African American culture. They addressed racial issues and they explored themes of identity and belonging during the Harlem Renaissance. It was really quite a time for the African American. And even in cities such as Chicago, and not only New York, but Chicago and Los Angeles, the Renaissance was going on at the same time. Next. So the civil rights era and beyond, also in relation to literature, was quite a movement as well. So in the 50s and the 60s, there was a new wave of African American literature that addressed the struggle for racial equality and social justice. So we have writers such as James Baldwin, we have Richard Wright and Gwendolyn Brooks. They became prominent voices during this period, using their works to challenge systemic racism and to advocate for change. So we have these great writers, and we've heard of James Baldwin and Richard Wright and Gwendolyn Brooks and others who came to the fore at this time, but their mission was to challenge racism and to advocate for change. Next. Well, that's strange. So the civil rights era beyond, contemporary authors in contemporary African American literature, authors continue to explore a wide range of themes and styles. And so we hear about Toni Morrison. Wonder what happened there. We hear about Toni Morrison, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993. And she's known for her powerful works that often explore the African American experience. Other contemporary authors, such as Ta-Nehisi Coates and Jasmine Ward, Colson Whitehead, and you'll see him on the right, and Jacqueline Woodson, have received critical acclaim for their works, which address issues of race, identity, and social inequality. That was their mission. Next. So now the another part of the arts would be visual arts. And the history of the African American visual arts explores a diverse range of artistic expressions, including painting, sculpture, photography, and other visual mediums. So the African American artists have played a significant role in shaping American art history, often using their work to explore themes of identity, history, and social justice. So the visual arts, very, very, very influential. Now, next, the visual arts and the early influence of folk art. So, in the early years of American history, the African American artists were often enslaved and had limited opportunities to pursue formal artistic training. But despite these challenges, many African Americans engaged in folk art traditions such as creating decorative objects, quilts, and we know about the quilting and the quilts of the African American woman, and other items that reflected their cultural heritage and creativity. So the folk art and the visual arts were alive and well during African American time when they were denied the privilege to do and to use their hands, but they were able to do something anyway. Next. So now we see here different different ways the African American used their creativity and their folk art. So you'll see a picture of the quilts, we'll see the pots, we'll see baskets, we see paintings, we see decorative items, and also sculptures. So many, many ways did the African American use their talent, their creative talents. Next. So again, what? Hmm. So the visual arts, African Renaissance and beyond, the Harlem Renaissance and beyond, the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s and the 30s marked a significant period of artistic and cultural flourishing for African Americans. And during this time, African American visual artists such as Aaron Douglas and Jacob Lawrence and Augusta Savage gained recognition for their work. And this was also reflected in the African American history, folklore, and identity. So the Harlem Renaissance also saw the rise of the African American photographers, such as James Vanderzee, who captured images of the vibrant culture in Harlem. And so to your right, you'll see one of the pictures that he captured of Harlem. And he took many, many photos actually documenting the lives and achievements of the African American during this time. Next. So let's talk about. I must apologize. I did not putting these slides together. I had no clue that they were going to look like this. I don't know what happened to them and why they're blacked out. On my end of it, it's beautiful. Okay. Anyway, mid 20th century and the civil rights movement. Also, the visual arts were alive and well. So we see artists such as Romare Bearden and Jacob Lawrence, and they gained prominence. They gained prominence for their contributions to the development of modern art. And then the civil rights movement, the African American visual arts used their works to address issues of racial inequality and social justice. So we see artists such as Elizabeth Catlett and Charles White, who created powerful images that reflected the struggles and the aspirations of the African Americans during this turbulent time. So this picture here is a picture of Romare Bearden and his painting. Okay, next slide. Next. Now we see a picture here of Elizabeth Catlett. No, go back. And one of her, several of her sculptures. Next. And this is a picture of Charles White. We see Charles White in the right hand corner, and we see pictures of his artwork. And this is what I want to stop here, and I want to recommend that if you live in a city where there is an African American museum, I recommend that you go there frequently and visit because they have many, many art shows, and they showcase the works of the African American in many different ways. Charles White came to the California African American Museum. He was one of the artists that they featured, and magnificent portrayal of his artwork was just beautiful. So I recommend that we do that. We visit the museums that they have in our cities, and if we have to go even to another city to visit, that way we can begin to know the artists and the contributors in the of the arts. Next. Okay, so contemporary African art, and we talked about photographers such as Carrie Mae Weems and Lauren Simpson, also other artists, different artists, contemporary African American art. And now I was listening to interview by Charles Bibbs, and Charles Bibbs said that previously there was not a lot of African American art. So the sale of art from the African American was very minimal. But now, because of the times that we're living in, the African American art is flourishing. The artists are flourishing, and they are being called for exhibits and chances to sell their artwork. And so he said the art field now for the African American is doing very, very well, and it is flourishing, which is very good news. Next. Now we see a picture here of Kara Walker, and this is some of her artwork that we see. Next. Now we're going to go to next. We're going to go to our next art form, and that is dance. The African American dance and theater has played a significant role in shaping American performing arts, from traditional forms rooted in African heritage to contemporary expressions that reflect the diversity and complexity of the African American experience. So the dance is one area that the African American has certainly influenced the American culture. Next. So traditional African American dance. Now, I didn't know anything, maybe because I'm not in the world, so I don't know, but these are three of dances of the African American dances that I knew nothing about. One was African Roots, a dance form, and it's a dance form that they do. And then there's called Ring Shout, traditional African American dance form originated from the South. And then we have social dances, African American social dances such as Charleston, the Lindy Hop, and the Jitterbug, the swing dances. All of these are the dances that were developed by the African American. Next. Next. Now we see here a picture of the Charleston and the Jitterbug. So That jitterbug was quite something, wasn't it? Next. So contemporary African American dance, modern and contemporary dance. And the African American dancers and choreographers have made significant contributions to modern and contemporary dance forms. Now, I don't know if anyone has seen some of the Alvin Ailey performances, but they are magnificent ballet and just beautiful, and Catherine Dunham. And they incorporated African and Caribbean dance traditions into their work. Um, they contributed to the diversity of modern dance. Beautiful, beautiful dance renditions. Then we have hip hop dance, and hip hop emerged from the African American and Latino communities in the Bronx in the 1970s. They became a global phenomenon. It encompasses a wide range of styles, including breaking, locking, popping, crumping, and had a major influence on popular culture worldwide. And just recently did I hear that the Olympics, that the hip hop dance, not hip hop, but I think I can't remember, oh goodness, but it's going to be an Olympic sport in 2028. Hip hop dancing is going to be an Olympic sport in 2028. So we can check that, make sure that's right. All right, now let's go to theater. Early theater, African American theater, has a long history that dates back to the 19th century. Early African American theater often focused on themes of racial identity, social justice, and the African American experience in America. And then we also talk about the minstrel shows, and the minstrel shows are in the 19th and the early 20th centuries. And the minstrel shows were a popular form of entertainment that featured white performers in blackface, um, characterizing African American culture. So, despite the racist stereotypes that were perpetuated by these shows, they provided an early platform for African American performers to showcase their talent. So, even the minstrel shows, white people painted their face and acted as if they were black, but that also gave black people a chance to perform as well. Next. So this is a picture of this white man painting his face, having these big old red lips. I started to say looking like a screwball, but anyway, and this is what is called minstrel. So he was portraying the black person and acting really stupid and foolish. Next. So now the theater, also we're talking about the theater in relation to the Harlem Renaissance theater. Now the Harlem Renaissance, again in the 20s and the 30s, saw a flourishing African American theater with playwrights and performers like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and Paul Robeson. They contribute they contributed to a vibrant cultural scene during the Harlem Renaissance. Even Josephine Baker, and we can call names of the performers during the Harlem Renaissance. And this was alive and well. And then we have the contemporary theater, and contemporary African American theater playwrights and performers continue to explore a wide range of themes and styles. Contemporary works often address issues of race, identity, and social justice, while embracing diverse theatrical forms and storytelling techniques. So the theater was a fantastic way of getting the message out regarding the African American and the African Americans' contributions. I love to go to the theater where I can see a Black play that is significant. Next. So African American, the theater, dance, and theater, African American dance and theater continue to evolve, drawing on rich traditions while also embracing new forms of expression and innovation. These art forms remain vital components of African American culture and continue to inspire and captivate audiences around the world. So, dance and theater, the arts, is that important? They are important components of our history. Next. So, let's summarize. African American arts encompass a diverse and vibrant tapestry of creative expressions, including music, literature, visual arts, dance, and theater, that have played a profound role in shaping American culture and identity. We have to remember that the arts played a profound role in shaping American culture and identity. So when we talk about Black history, what are we really talking about? We're talking about American history. Yes. From the rich traditions of spirituals and blues to the innovative sounds of jazz and hip hop and the powerful storytelling of literature to the striking imagery of visual arts and from the expressive movements of dance to the captivating performance of theater. African American arts reflect the resilience, creativity, and cultural heritage of a people whose contributions have enriched the artistic landscape of the United States and the world. And some of the most affluent entertainers are African American throughout the world. Many of them even left America, going to other parts of the world, to Europe and other areas, so they could have more freedom to be and to do were what they wanted to do and needed to do as artists. So the art field, the field of the arts in America is alive and well because of, not going to say mostly because of, but because of the African American being a part of it. Next. So this is the end of the presentation, but not really. I would like for you to take what you have learned and share it with our youth. To me, that is the area that needs to be developed more. Our young people need to know the contributions of the African American or of our people. We need to know what we have done and how we have influenced the world through our contributions. And the only way that our youth are going to know that is if we tell them. And I believe that if they knew more about our contributions, they would be even more willing to do more for society and to act better and to do better. So the roots of the present are deep in the past. So let us remember to share what we know with our young people, and remember that when we talk about the arts, we must talk about all of the arts, because it's not, it's a part of history. So hip hop, rap, and all of that is a part of our history. So we must talk about it all and talk about the contributions that we have had. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of the presentation.
Hashtag Power Up Family. Let's celebrate Dr. Sims for this very comprehensive overview of this year's 2024 theme for African American, for Black History Month, the African American and the arts. Let's show her some love in the comments. And if you have a question, please put your question in the comments so that we can. Thank you, Sister Hall. And I know you know Sister Hall personally, you and so she's a member of my local church, and I'm grateful for her as my Sunday school superintendent. But yes, let's show Dr. Sims some love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There you go. Thank you so much. All the way from the other coast, Sister Mother Moten says wonderful information. Thank you so much for sharing. And so, Dr. Sims, I would like to ask you to forgive me when I downloaded the slides from Google Slides. Some of the slides were blacked out. So what I did, I
Ooh.
went back, and that's why there was that time in the middle where it looked like I went back a slide. So I went through as I just shared the screen as in Google. And so if we go back to some of the slides, and I'm just cycling back through them, it's not blacked out when I share it like this. Like this was one of the slides that looked
Wow.
blacked out.
Yes.
So if you do you want to go back to those and just cover them, or do you want me to show them? How do you want us to do that?
Well, what I can say is this, that the slides are for you. And so if you want them, if you would like to use them possibly with your at your church, then you can have those. And so they can see them. I did read from them. I have the script myself. So they did hear them. They heard the slides.
So,
And
Power Up Family, Dr. Sims has graciously agreed to make these all available. I will post the link to the Google slide deck later today, and so you can download them and you can build a way to do some wonderful sharing of the arts, of literature, of music, of dance with the young people at your church, the way Dr. Sims recommended. Sister Willis says, thank you for such great information of our Black history. And Vice Chair Althea Sims, another Sims. There's a lot of Sims around here. She says you're an expert, and I concur with that sentiment. You are an expert in so many areas, including African American history, and we're grateful for you sharing this knowledge with us today. We do have a few questions. So this was one of the slides that was blacked out, and we're going to get to those. Another one that was blacked out. It looked like I think it was possibly this one, as well as a couple of these. So this will all be available. So let me make this smaller and
when can I say this also?
absolutely.
I put together, this is a schedule. If I might advocate that what we do is use every week of February for our Black history. And so this is a week by week schedule that we could use for our Black history presentations. And the information that I gave you on the slides, they're all here. It's all here, plus much more. So just recommendations on how you can use those 4 weeks for your church to give them information on Black history and the theme, which is African Americans and the arts. So that's also available. I sent that to you as well.
Okay, beautiful. So let's talk about that before we get to the questions, because we have some of them. What's your recommend? Just tell me what for week one do you recommend? I think you started with. Did you start with music?
Yeah, African American music, and
Okay.
we're gonna yeah, and the presentation would be the history of African American music. So that will
So
be week one.
So Dr. Sims made a disclaimer a couple times within the different places within her presentation. We acknowledge that as a faith community, there's probably certain types of music for various reasons that we don't personally listen to, or we don't encourage others to listen to it. But this is a great time to engage with our young people because I don't know if our young people are like I was. I know I was sneaking and listening to stuff I wasn't that was not sanctioned by the parents that raised me. I did sneak and listen to certain music, so I know even to this day I still know certain lyrics from
I do
various,
too.
uh, top selling artists who are discussed or have been discussed within not only Black culture but culture at large. I know certain lyrics still. One day they'll fall out. Some of us can't memorize Bible verses, but we sure know those lyrics and those jingles from commercials. So this is a great opportunity for us to engage with our youth. Maybe you can make it an assignment or make it a fun thing to do where they talk to you about some of the lyrics of some of the current artists
Very
that
true.
we may
Very
not be
nice.
familiar with, and we can discuss different artists. So Dr. Sims took us through some of the early days of hip hop, some of what happened in the 90s and the 2000s. I know she mentioned Tupac and Biggie Smalls, and everyone had their own era of music that their parents told them not to listen to, but they were listening to it anyways. So these are things that we can engage with our young people. We can hear why is it so sticky? What's the connectivity between that and the music? And then even going further back, there were probably genres of music with R&B or blues or jazz that maybe the church didn't sanction at the time in the 40s and the 50s, but yet the young people were listening. And so maybe you're not a young, we're not, we're chronologically mature today, but maybe we were sneaking and doing something, back in the day. So this is still a good discussion to have and understanding as to, what aligns with our faith system, what does not, what lyrics align, what do not, and this is a wonderful opportunity to engage with our young people. What would you recommend for week 2?
We too is African American literature,
Okay.
and to start with, and this includes the Harlem Renaissance, which was the Harlem Renaissance was really quite a time for the literature piece, and then talk about that for week 2, African American literature. So really, what we're doing is every week we're going to take apart one segment of the arts.
And
Week
some of the
one will be
authors you
music. Week two
recommended,
will,
I recall you mentioned James Baldwin, Toni Morrison,
yes,
Colson, Colson
yes,
Whitehead. Who were some
yes.
of the other names, just so that we're restating them?
Then you said James Baldwin, right? Okay, let me see. Nora Hurston, Nora Zio Hurston. Um, let me see. Oh, I think also another person that the young people should really be introduced to is Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass did some. He did some in the during slavery times. He was a master writer, and so to read some of his speeches and some of his pieces would be very encouraging for the young people.
So these
Also,
are, go ahead.
no, I was going to say Ida B. Wells would be another one you want to read about. And so they're different. Toni Morrison, we said, James Baldwin, Richard Wright, Gwendolyn Brooks. All of these are in your slides.
So these are all good authors, especially in light of many of the movements to
Yes.
revise how American slavery in the South is represented in the history books. It's
Hmm.
important for the church and communities of faith to share the truth of what was happening, the atrocities of slavery. So similar to how Dr. Sims says, she touches on some different examples of authors. And I know for some there is an exhaustion for that period. So if you don't want to focus only on that, there are beautiful representations, beautiful pieces of literature from the Harlem Renaissance, as she stated, was going on in different cities. So you have other authors in case you don't want to go there this year, but please, I recommend that you go there at some point because our children are learning different things. Okay, what's the third week? And then we're going to get to questions.
Third week, African American visual arts. And now this is a great time when you can show African American creativity and show the quilts, show the pots, show the basket weaving, handiwork, where so many of the African American women in the South made all the clothes by hand. They did the draperies. I mean, on and on and on and on. We were an integral part of the existence of the South. And that's why we don't give ourselves too much credit, which is a shame, but we need to begin to talk about these kinds of things and the contributions of the African American in every aspect of life.
Sister Alexis said that in Kansas City there is a African American museum. She said it's on in her jurisdiction. It says historic. She says historic 18th and Vine in my jurisdiction. This is when we were talking when you originally were encouraging us to go to an African American museum. So there is one in Kansas City. If you know of another one and you're online or watching the replay, feel free to put it in the chat. And also in Los Angeles, there is an African American museum. It's temporarily closed due to repairs because of the storm. I know many of you don't think it rains here, but it does, especially in January. So they're closed for repairs, but once they reopen, the address is 600 State Drive Exposition Park. It's near USC, in near the very edge of downtown LA. People don't
Mhm.
consider USC downtown LA, but I do.
Mhm.
So it's near downtown LA, 600 State Drive Exposition Park, and prayerfully it'll be open soon after they're done with the repair work. So any of you that know of other museums, please, African American museums, please put those up in the comments. Okay, we have a question from Vice Chair Althea Sims. Her question is, Dr. Sims, can you share about your books that you authored on African American inventors?
Thank you. Althea Sims is my sister in love, so she's promoting me. Thank you. Um, when I was teaching, I was teaching kindergarten and first grade, and this was during the time when they had African American History Week. I realized that there was not any information for young children that they could actually hold on to. And at the time, I was working on my PhD. I realized that if you give a child, the children needed something that they could identify with visually and also manually, in terms of their hands and all this kind of thing. And so I thought, well, let me see, what can I do for these children that would give them some information that they would remember? And so then I began to think about, well, let's see, what about inventions? What inventions has the African American done that the young people would really be excited about to hear? And it worked. I Every day of the week after lunch, I would tell a story about an invention. And at the end of the week, I told the story about, I think it was Norbert Relu who invented the sugar refining process or something. And the little children, one little girl was in front of me, and after I finished telling my story, she said, African Americans invented everything. I thought, well, mission accomplished. As far as she was concerned, we had invented the world. Now, that's where we need to take our kids. We need to let them know that the contributions of the African American have been so significant that if they had not been here in America, we would even not be in America. And that's the truth. But that's where we need to take them. So when that little girl said that, that made all the difference in the world. Then from that point, I then decided that I would begin to write books on African American inventors. So I wrote four books. One was the invention of the stoplight, the sugar refining process, the I'm forgetting myself what I wrote about. Um, well, anyway, it'll come to me. But anyway, 4 books I wrote on the invention that children could actually see every day, and it makes all the difference in the world. One mother told me that she bought the book Stop and Go, and the little fella, she said he put it in his chest and he went to sleep with it. He did not want her to take his book away. He actually slept with this little book talking about Garrett Morgan, who had been at the stoplight. So when we give children the information that we need to give them about our contributions, it empowers them, and it really gives them a sense of self-worth. And that's what we're missing, I think, today. We're missing this whole concept and the sense of self-worth because we're not letting our children know what we have done to build America. And we have done a lot. I can tell some stories that were just, whew, they are just so excited about the contributions of the African American.
So, are your books available on Amazon
They
or?
are. They are on Amazon.
Okay, so if we put in your name,
Right.
should we
That's
put in
right.
Doris Sims or Dr. Doris Sims, or what do you recommend?
Doris Sims, that will get it.
Okay,
And there
so
are 4 books.
Power Up Family, if you navigate to Amazon and you key in Dr. Doris Sims or Doris Sims, you'll find the 4 books that our guests authored on inventions and inventors, including the stoplight, the sugar refining process, and 2 others. Amazing. Let's be a
Mhm.
support and let's educate our young people about the contributions as we prepare and gear up for Black History Month. Um, Such a great session. We're over time, but we thank God for each of you that were able to see this presentation with us live. And for those of you that will see the replay, we want to say thank you to Dr. Doris Sims for the time and effort she put in preparing these slides. And please note they will be available to you later today on the ISSD um, Facebook page. There will be a link to the Google presentation. You can download it and you can chop it up and use it as you would like, but please give her credit for all the work that she did. And we're thankful for each and every one of you. We have amazing presenters in the coming weeks, so please join us back here these next few Tuesdays, and then we have an exciting announcement. So join us here next week, and we will see you soon. God bless you to each and every one of you. Have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hashtag Power Up is part of the learning and development arm of the International Sunday School Department of the Churches of God in Christ. We invite you to sow into this ministry. Your gift in any amount will help us continue to share leading edge biblical educational solutions and leadership tools to churches, districts, missions, and jurisdictions of all sizes. Along with our president, Mark Ellis, we are aiming to continue to reach, teach, minister, assimilate, build, and involve people for the furthering of the kingdom of God. Furthermore, we want to eradicate biblical illiteracy. Your gift in any amount makes you part of this effort as well. God bless you in advance for your gift. We pray that the Lord richly blesses you.